Hello and welcome back to the PWT Halcyon podcast. Oh, I miss this. Why am I doing a podcast when I've already got a channel devoted to podcasts? Well, let me tell you, friends, I miss the Halcyon podcast because I got to say stupid shit from time to time. Voracious, I shall endeavour to try and make sure I'm always on point. I'm always balanced, informed, and to a degree disconnected personally from the subject matter as most I can. But here on the PWT Halcyon podcast, with me, your host, Lorne Risley, I just want to cut loose. I just want to talk about wrestling. I just want to talk about sports. I want to talk about all that good shit. So, I've been out of the wrestling loop for a while. The reason being is because work has been kicking my ass. Been working a lot of game reviews, which the podcast often distracted me from. And I just haven't had time to watch it. Now, I have good news. A lot of time coming up off work that I can devote to catching up to the sport of kings, or sports entertainment of kings. Let's talk about some news. Let's talk about some controversy. Hulk Hogan is going to be reinstated into the WWE Hall of Fame. I had a Twitter argument about it. You can listen to my Voracious podcast to hear my thoughts on the matter. However, long story short, shouldn't go back in. Racist motherfucker. My opinion, someone who expresses those sentiments at that age probably had them for a good long time. Probably ain't going to change anytime soon. It's probably just sadly got caught. But anyway, as far as it pertains to wrestling, who knows what the implications will be on a long-term basis in terms of what his participation will be. It is massive news because the guy is a massive name known worldwide. We'll just have to see how that one plays out. As far as everything else goes in wrestling, I think the Brock Lesnar thing it bears talking about. So what we know for certain is that Brock Lesnar is back in the drug testing pool. He has 6 months to complete a drug testing program set forth by USADA. And as a result, at some stage in the near future, it's reasonable to assume that he is going to drop that strap to somebody. Now, who's it going to be? Who the hell knows? It's very difficult to say at this point. All logic suggested that he should have dropped the title at Mania to Reigns. As bad an idea as that would have been, that was the plan. That's what everyone thought was going to happen and anticipated seeing. When it didn't happen, everyone was left scratching their heads thinking, well, that makes no sense. So what I think is interesting here is the Lesnar situation. Lesnar's getting on now. He's 40, he's nearly 40 or just tipped over 40 years old. So he's no spring chicken, which means the time is going to have to come for him to pass the mantle on to somebody, and it ain't going to be Roman Reigns. He's been defeated effectively at 2 WrestleManias by Brock now. I realise that Ronin's cashed in the first instance, but still, let's all be honest. The reason why Reigns wasn't given that title at that point is because he wasn't over enough. The reason why he didn't on the second occasion is because he wasn't over enough. He still isn't over enough now. So the question remains, who is going to get this rub? Who is the one who is going to get this? Who is going to get the mantle of the guy? Because let's all be honest, okay? As push comes to shove, as much as people seem to be hating on him, or at least the people that I watch seem to be hating on him, I don't know what the view of the public is. I always hate that sentiment. When people say, well, people think, or lots of people think, okay, cool, where's your stats? Where's your source? Tell me the names of each of these people. You can't, because it's something that you are rationalizing through the prism of your own personal view. If I say lots of people think something, I'm probably lying, because I don't know jack shit about what people are thinking right now. I can only know what my opinion is, and my opinion is that Brock Lesnar is currently the guy of WWE. He's the biggest draw, he's the biggest name, he's the most legitimate name, he's a marquee player. He's the only one who can probably at this stage in his career motherfuck Vince McMahon. All of these things to be respected. You can have any inclination as to what you like to Brock Lesnar. This is my opinion. In terms of his wrestling ability, he's already proven how great a wrestler he was, at least with his matches with Kurt Angle. Both of them carry themselves to great, intense, technically astute matches. And short of one botch, may have even had one of the best WrestleMania matches of all time. Take that. Add to the fact that he's huge. Add to the fact that when he puts his mind to it, he can cut a promo. Yes, he's got a bit of the Tyson voice, in that if you had him on the end of a phone, you probably wouldn't be all that intimidated by him right up until the moment he comes to your shopping store and says, I want to return this, or I'm shoving it up your ass until you can taste it. Yeah, I understand that people may be a little turned off to Lesnar, especially the perception is apparently that he throws his weight around, he has a lot of power, he has a lot of influence, but he earns money, so he's going to. It's the same with any business. If you protect your investment, you protect the thing that makes you the money. That's business 101. But the question remains, who stands to inherit this? Because wrestling is all about the rub. It's all about the next guy. Right now, it's not clear. It's probably not going to be anyone that's on the current roster because they're all, not guilty by association, that's the wrong term to use, but they're all, to a degree, all affiliated in some way. And that's not great because it means that they all lack a little bit of legitimacy. Seth Rollins is working his ass off. He's still a tremendous wrestler, technically speaking, still cuts a mean promo. His recent gauntlet matches, his run with the IC title is still astounding. Reigns, let's just not go there. He may be a great wrestler, but I don't enjoy his character, and I really wish they'd turn him heel as an explicitly heel, but that's never going to happen at this point because we got to make that merch money. Finn Balor, I think, is too small in the eyes of the company. I love Finn Balor, but I think his Universal title run, he had his opportunity, and now that they've decided they don't want to put the title on him, that's kind of that. Who else is there? Samoa Joe, I don't think they would bank on him. I'd love to see him have a run with the title, but I don't think they'd run with him. Kevin Owens is another one. These are all names who I love. I love these wrestlers. They're great wrestlers. But are they the guy that's going to transition the company into another era? Probably not. So right now we're all up in the air. We're waiting for the next guy to come out of the woodwork, which is crazy to think about because who knows when that's going to be. Meanwhile, and this is where I have been keeping up, New Japan is killing it right now in terms of story, in terms of characterization, in terms of the wrestling. The wrestling is unbelievable over there right now. It's staggering how good the wrestling is. Not to take anything away from the WWE's product, but there's no comparison in terms of one is an apple, the other is a goo chocolate, a trillionaire cheesecake with all the trimmings. It's not enough to make you fat, but it's just enough of everything you need to glow about it for about a day after you've consumed it. It's not even on the same level. And the fact that there's rumors perpetuating the idea that WWE is looking to sign a lot of the New Japan talent is frankly a little scary to me. Because the idea of Kenny Omega being signed by WWE and being ruined is frankly a realistic possibility and one I would not relish seeing. It was the same with Shinsuke Nakamura. I feel has been given a really poor run. AJ Styles has ups and downs, but it isn't given. He still feels like he's obliged to be respected. In New Japan, I loved his match. I've since gone back and watched some of his matches in New Japan because you have to have context as to what you're supposed to be seeing. And again, there's no comparison. Shinsuke Nakamura is another example. Gallows and Anderson. What the fuck happened to Gallows and Anderson when they went to the WWE? It's frustrating to say the least, but I digress. As far as the WWE product is concerned now, the biggest thing with Brock Lesnar, now that he's going to have to drop the belt between now and when his bout with Cormier is set to take place, which is another discussion altogether. I'll try and keep it as pro wrestling related as I can, because this the PWT podcast. Let's talk about some pro wrestling. The fact that he has to drop the belt, because I doubt very much Vince McMahon would let him walk in there as the WWE champion when there is a very, very, very high possibility that he will lose to Daniel Cormier, considering his wrestling is probably, if not on par, slightly worse, and his striking ability probably isn't on par with Daniel Cormier, because Lesnar has never been a knockout artist or anything like that. Very technically unskilled at the moment in terms of his striking ability, unless of course your name's Braun Strowman and you've happened to knee him in the face, in which case, yeah, he's probably going to deck you back and he'll make it count. God, that was still hilarious to watch. As far as other wrestling news is concerned, again, having been out of the loop, it's difficult for me to weigh in on some of these things, but I will be getting knee deep back into it. The only other thing I really wanted to talk about in this podcast, is from a wrestling standpoint, is Extreme Rules. I know is tonight. I'll be making a concerted effort to try and catch it at some stage. So what I will probably end up doing, I will use this as a prelude into a review of Extreme Rules, given that I will be able to go into it with as little context as possible, and I will be able to judge the event on its own merits rather than the build to it, because I know that the hype can sometimes derail a WWE event. We've all been guilty of getting super excited for a card and it not delivering because of a perceived, perceived level of performance that we're all expecting. So hopefully I'll be able to give a fresh and interesting perspective on that. But we'll see. I haven't seen tremendous amounts of Daniel Bryan since his feud with Big Cass. That whole situation is hilarious. The brass ring. I love this idea of the brass ring in WWE. This idea that, they've got to reach for it. No. What you mean is, we want the people to reach for it who we're dangling it in front of. Everybody else, you don't go reaching for that ring because it's not your business or place to. Big Cass was someone that reached for the brass ring apparently and was a bit of a diva backstage and had some incidents, but hey, listen, the guy was money. Given enough time, given the right physique, just build his physique just that little bit more. I always felt he looked a little bit too lanky. Give his promos more time to develop, let his character set in a little bit. Who knows what he could have become? Especially now with Enzo out of the picture. There's no affiliation there whatsoever. But yeah, I'm interested to see where they go with Daniel Bryan, especially considering that his contract is still coming up, and as far as I'm aware, he's not re-signed. So, interesting times ahead. So, Extreme Rules is tonight, so I hope if you're going to watch that, I hope you enjoy it, first and foremost, and I hope that it lives up to expectations. I'll try and catch it as soon as I can. I'll give you my feedback and thoughts on it, so I hope you stay tuned for that. So this is going to be a short and sweet podcast on this occasion, just because I wanted to get back in. Check me out on my other channel on Voracious. Make sure you're checking out some of my gaming reviews, now that they're coming once a week at the very least. I hope you're checking out some of the other content creators in the description below. I hope you're taking care of yourselves. And I hope you're glad as I am that I'm back on the PWT Halcyon podcast. My name's been Lil Risley. I've been your host as always. Please take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.